Welcome to this opportunity to be together in community. This is a time to celebrate and acknowledge the joy, comfort, and sometimes the challenges we face as a community. We come together in this Unitarian Universalist congregation to learn more about being human. We learn how to listen, how to forgive, how to grow in trust and compassion. You are welcome here as you are. If you are visiting, I hope you will take time to get to know us. Welcome to a time of connection. Welcome to this space made sacred by your presence.
Good morning. I hate this day. You're going to ask me questions. And while I like to be a professor, I'm intimidated by what y'all can come up with. Someone said we just ought to have two mics and people have time to give their opinion to one another. Because we're Unitarian Universalists, and as Ron Phillips likes to say, wherever there's two, there's 16 different opinions. So this is going to be the protocol today. We've got some ushers somewhere, and they'll be passing around cards in a little while. Does anybody want to ask a question that hasn't filled out a card? No one? Oh, okay. We'll get you a card just in a minute, Karen. Anyone else, they'll be moving around after the first hymn and before we move into the stone ritual. Okay? We come into this grove of ancient trees, into this dome building, to be people of the dome that look to the world as a celestial experience. Cathedrals and worship houses and council houses take shape from the ground up. The imagination that goes into a dome is that this is the ceiling of the universe. Well, you can see we got a little dark staining on ours. Well, we had some interesting issues with the roof last couple of weeks with all the weather we've had. Well, it turns out the warranty on our roof held, so it's not going to cost us anything to have it repaired and even painted inside. So y'all be thinking up of murals we want to have. We want a Sistine Chapel look up. No, I like the simplicity of it and austerity. I call it austerity, but just the solemnity of it, that it's a place that we can paint our imaginations on. So welcome to this space and this time. We strive to be a community where all people are welcomed. We strive to celebrate diversity. We strive to be about the hard work of living a good life. And to that, we'll light our chalice. To caring, to learning, and to acting. So I'm going to introduce the questions. I'm going to move down here and we'll talk. And Shakespeare and Henry IV wrote these words: "Wisdom cries out in the streets, and no one regards it." 20, 30 years ago, the Unitarian Universalist Association put together a campaign, maybe it's been longer than that, to question is the answer. Well, I've related to you before that when I saw that when I was a young minister, I thought that was the silliest thing I'd ever seen. I didn't understand what it meant because I was out to be an evangelist for Unitarian Universalism, mainly Universalism, because I like the notion of a kind, loving God. And I sort of knew a little bit about what sin looked like and felt like, because I was conditioned in that culture. The Western culture has been infected throughout the generations by the notion that we're inferior, that we've got to prove something. So I came up with a notion in my developing who I was as a person and as a spiritual leader in congregations across the country, that it was about reason, non-reason, or wrong reason, non-rational, irrational, and reasonable. Irrational is ideology. It's concepts based on the fact that we're asked to believe someone else's superstition. Rational is, well, let's see what science teaches us. That's what's provided our science over the generations. To move from bloodletting 200 years ago as a cure for everything to now transfusions that can be typed to a certain blood that's required to save us. And then there's non-rational. Irrational, rational, and now non-rational. Well, I feel that non-rational is about intuition. It's about transcendence. It's about feelings and impressions that are crafted and come from an alchemy of who we are. A white kid from Tennessee, a boy child, has to interpret the world. Well, you give your biography. Who are you? What are you? How are you? So the idea that we have mystical thoughts. I sometimes see my mother in my dreams. I sometimes see my mother driving. Now, I'm not ready to be admitted anywhere because I've got medicine for that. I hope you do too if you've got that issue. So what is it we're here for? Why spend this time on Sunday? Why work on Wednesday night to present something beautiful? Why worry about volunteering to make all this stuff happen? Dealing with other people's kids on a Sunday morning. There's a terrible responsibility if they're conscientious, because they want to respond and say something that's relevant to you. Traditionally, we'll tell a story about the past and hope that can relate to you as an individual. Well, if you're not schooled in that story, in that culture, if you're this and that, it can be offensive. It can be problematic. So let's see what stories I can spin this morning from the questions you've given me. Now, I've done this in many congregations, and it's always fun because it's a mix. So, what is one achievable, in quotes, improvement to our church that you think we can accomplish in the next 12 months? Well, that's administration. Preacher don't have nothing to do with that. Does he? Does she? Well, of course she does. Because that pulpit gives an opportunity to set the morale and maybe offer the vision of what we might be. Well, I think we started that 12 months. I think we started that in the spring as I fumbled around up here trying to get my legs to be an effective minister on Sunday mornings. Coming out of retirement, sort of, and a heck of a trip on my health. But look around what we've done in the last 7 months. The board has worked with the disasters of the tornadoes, the hurricanes, the damage to the grounds. The dome was saved, blessed be. And just this last week, we had more work done around to protect our status with our insurance company. So we're not out here on the lonesome betting our property, basically, that we won't get blown away or somebody hurt on this property. Now, it's intricate. There are details to all this, but that's the big scene. We've got RE started again. It's meager, but we've got some young new families that are beautiful. And they keep coming back even through my illness and guest speakers that come and go. We're finding our heart again and our soul again because there's someone in the pulpit, me, who gives a crap about you. And that's some of my undoing because I haven't been able to love you like I should have. And then that goes into some resentment like, okay, I'm out here by my lonesome. Well, yeah, that comes with the field. I don't have an imaginary partner to keep me going that I'll tell you about. How does a minister handle the fact that for everything that happens in church, there are folks that agree and those who criticize? Let me read that one again. How does a minister handle the fact that for everything that happens in church, there are folks that agree and those who disagree, those who criticize? Well, you lose sleep. And you try to talk to colleagues, which I'm not good at because I haven't had time to drive all over the country, and I don't have a network of people I can rat on with y'all that I can cry to. So I talked to Kathy, and I talked to my boy, and I talked to a couple of colleagues that got long distance and say, this and that's going on. What's going on? Why don't I feel they love me? And they go, wake up, Doak. They're living their lives. They ain't got time to take care of you. You're the caregiver. And then I come to my senses to say I've been doing this for long enough to know that if you want payback, you don't get it. And those you get are priceless. What role do you think UUCT should play in local activism? What role should UUCT play in local activism? I think we should be as active as there are people who want to be active. I think as a corporate body, it's hard to do. Thank goodness we've got a few faithful, Robert being the most significant, that keep us in hope. And we show up. We had a good delegation in the spring. We had some of our new people who came. So our presence in the community is through hope. That's the way we used to do it. Everything was not so fragmented. You had a liberal group of churches, progressive group of churches, who worked their butts off to bring humane legislation and policies to our community. And now we've turned conservative in our body politic, and we're facing hard times. Public broadcasting, public agencies that help, housing. We cannot separate this room from the world out there. It can be our sanctuary for a few hours, and we can be joyful, and we can strive to heal and lift ourselves, but we cannot cure the world. There's healing and there's curing. Curing is when you get a new lease on life by some miracle drug. Healing is when you're cured, is when you find a diagnosis that tells you who you are and what's going on. Healing is a spiritual journey. It happens when we're at peace with our lot. Now, I hate to say stuff like that because I think we ought to whip our lot. But we can't do it. We can't do it. We're limited in our age, and our finality is coming, but not our sense of spiritual strength and hope. I talked about reasonless hope last Sunday. Art Lester in Britain preached that at a British gathering of Unitarians. And some of my buddies online, in my ministry online, went, reasonless, I don't understand. Reasonless hope. Well, it's irrational hope. No, non-rational hope. Non-rational hope. I'm going to sit here and be loving in spite of all the hate around me. I'm going to look at the demagogues in the world and say, you don't intimidate me. Love rules in my heart, and I'm going to work on that. When you have me become like you, then I've lost my soul. If you're mean, if you're jealous, if you're envious, you got the idea. Whoops. What makes a UU congregation healthy and striving? We're doing it. With one exception. We've got to open our circle. We've got to say to these people that come in here, these children that come in here, who are you? What's your name? It's hard. It's hard. I can't speak the language of 16-year-olds. Can you? But I can make them take a hug and they can smack me if they want to. Saw something the other day or heard it on the radio about men being affectionate to their girl children. But they had to do that, and they had to get over this tension that's sexual there. Because studies have shown that maleness and femaleness, unless it's learned healthy relationships early on, it's a problem for both the male and the female. And a lot of men who have children don't know, that are women that don't know how to share their love effectively. And the girls and the daughters go, I didn't know if Daddy loved me. What is the UU focused view on spiritual development? Okay. If you know what you know and that's it, you're not a Unitarian Universalist. If you come here to hear new ideas, share new ideas, be a part of a developing dialogue of what life means. First century, we had a fellow named Jesus walking around in Galilee talking about what it meant to be spiritual. And he portrayed himself as God. God and I are one. Well, that was a culture. That was set up in a society that had gods in the sky, that were strong and powerful. Their science was very different from our science. There was no holistic understanding of reality. So when we say I'm an atheist and I'm an agnostic, I'm a humanist, that's a label. What are you every day? We're people. We're people confronted with the issues of being alive and in relationship. Confronted with the issues of being alive and in a relationship. And sometimes you have to pretend you love people. Sometimes you have to act as if everybody's wholesome. And then if they prove they're not, then you step aside. You demonstrate to them what our mamas and daddies, I hope, told us. Behave. You represent the family. You're a Mansfield. You're a Jones. You're an Abercrombie. We don't do that. We love one another. But there's some SOBs out there, so you watch yourself. What are one or two of the important spiritual disciplines you think are important to AUU? Humanism has got to be basic. Jesus was a humanist. He talked about life and people, about evil, but he had to tell a story about the evil one. But the evil one is me. And that's what Jesus was talking about. We're tempted to take the easy route out. We're tempted to take everything we can get. We're tempted to try to live as long as we can. Blessed be, some of us are doing it. I hope to join that august body. How about blessing of the animals? It's coming the first Sunday of October. Stay tuned. The rules have changed for churches and politics. How can we relate our 7 principles in the current politics? What can we do for each other and the community? Well, I'm glad that's the last one. I think we stay aware. We practice our values in the booth. We promote voting among our tribe and our people. I think we support agencies that reflect the 7 principles. We reflect what the United Nations says in the Universal Declaration of, whatever it is, the Universal Declaration of Humanity or Responsibilities or what's good. We know what's good. We know what's good. You can't give everything you got away necessarily, but you can share. You can find agencies where you can bring your excess food. You can do food banks. You can donate blood. Individuals are powerful. They have all these opportunities to acquire stuff and then pay it back, play it forward. Be a Messiah. Be a caregiver. Be a guru. Be a shaman. What can we do for each other in the community? Just what Doak said. Continue to be the best we can, where we can, with as many ways as we can. See, we're smart people. We don't need to be told what's out there. We need to remember that love is what brings us here. Love is what brings community together. That's got to be the energy. I hate being alone. Who likes being alone? Hold up your hand. A couple of you. I'm talking about alone all the time. I'm talking about alone in your heart. When you have children that have their lives and you don't want to intrude on them. You have friends that have their responsibilities and you don't want to intrude on them. See, it's a vicious circle, as I said. Well, right here in this place, I hope we can spin in a circle, because we are a circle. And laugh and cry. Amen. I've got some closing words written by John Philip Newman. Holy One, beyond all names, eternal wellspring, may love arise in us again today, with food on every table, shelter for every family, and reverence for every life. May we forgive our failings in love and be free from all falsehood. May the light of our souls shine and the strength of our spirits endure for earth and all its people, this day, tonight, and forever. Amen.